The stadium catwalk, he swore, was unsafe. The calendar square slid into our evening at 6:05 p.m., neat as a laminated credential. Sponsor suite playoff opener late. 2 minutes later, Nate texted, "Don't wait up. Lighting guys need me for a quick check before the anthem. Proud of me." Read he spends the heart when the rest of the sentence would rather not testify. I turned the flame under the soup to the kind of simmer that calls itself maturity, and looked across the river at the stadium glowing like a certainty you buy with parking. The square on my phone pulsed once and then pretended to be neutral. I rinsed an already clean spoon because sometimes the only honest verb available is unnecessary. At 6:29, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize and a message that recognized me anyway. If he's with lighting, why did he just badge the North Catwalk that's tagged unsafe? Service stare by gate D, door alarms a fake, push and keep walking. Signed with a single letter, L, as if an alphabet had leaned a shoulder against a door. Leif runs night ops the way good drummers run bands. Invisible until you notice nothing works without him. He and Nate have traded competence since the team still believed in Wednesday nights. He and I have shared 2 cigarettes on the loading dock and one laugh that startled a forklift into silence. We have not touched. I remember not touching more clearly than some men remember names. "Why tell me?" I typed. "Because your calendar is polite and my catwalk logs aren't," he sent back. Because he looked up before he swiped. People only look up on that stair when they want oxygen. Because the sweet level loves shadows. Gate D hissed air that remembered last winter. Security nodded me through with the bored respect of a man who knows which doors are better than stories. The service stair smelled like metal practicing patience. At the landing, a red placard declared unsafe in a font that wished it had authority. The bar gave way like a rumor. Above, the catwalk threaded the stadium bowl like a sentence diagram, narrow and sure of itself. The field below made its own weather. Anthem rehearsals leaked up in ribbons. Cameras grazed faces for purchase. At the North Truss, in a pocket of low light that liked secrets, Nate stood with his jacket off and his shirt open, one button past credible. Opposite him, resting 2 fingers on a rail like a man who had decided gravity owed him gratitude, was Damon Rusk, developer, team sponsor, a rumor with field access. Damon's hand hovered near Nate's wrist without landing. The crowd was a mile away and still too near. "Unsafe looks popular," I said from the bend of the catwalk. Nate turned, for a beat honesty borrowed his face. Then we were back to the version event photographers adore. "Aaron," he said, "I how did." "Leif likes nouns," I said. "I like doors that remember their doors." Damon smiled in the tone of men who can afford to be cordial while they measure you for inconvenience. "We were inspecting sightlines," he said. "Donors appreciate the work that keeps their favorite faces well lit." "I prefer light that knows what it's for," I said. Nate took 1 step toward me and gave the second back to the catwalk. "We were timing a cue," he said. He wanted to feel the moment before it happens. "Moments are easier from above," Damon said. He lifted his palms. 2 minutes. The anthem will forgive you, the broadcast won't." He drifted a few yards down, where a bumper of steel pretended to be privacy. As he passed, 2 fingers touched Nate's shoulder, punctuation, not insistence. The structure took the contact and kept score. Nate looked at me with the expression of a man who hopes the door he chose will act like a life raft. "I was going to text you," he said, low now, the voice he keeps for mornings and the softer side of my jaw. "After. I wanted to prove I could leave this room without needing to be rescued." "You wanted to be caught," I said. "Not punished, caught." He breathed once, which in this stadium counts as confession. "Yes." There is a temperature at which grammar resigns. I closed the small distance and put my mouth on his because Steele is honest and deserves company. He kissed back with the relief of a man who had been performing restraint for men who had never earned it. He tasted like sweet bar bourbon and concession stand salt. My thumb found the hinge of his jaw and pressed. He made the small, involuntary sound I keep receipts for. His palm slid under my shirt and laid itself between my shoulder blades like a credential nobody gets to check. We didn't undress. The catwalk charges extra and the cameras like evidence. He broke the kiss first because he knows the exact instant heat auditions for a highlight reel. He rested his forehead against mine. The field below sent up a chord and then thought better of it. I didn't kiss him, he said. I wanted to want to. I texted Leif instead. You did, I said. He prefers oxygen to salvage. From the bend, Damon's silhouette tilted its head in the way of men who have always known where the light comes from. He didn't move closer. The scoreboard began telling the crowd what to feel. Come home, Nate said. After I thanked the drummer, I said. Leif waited by a crossbrace where bolts keep secrets, hands in pockets, radio quiet. He did not smile. He also did not make us earn mercy. House sweep hits the catwalk after the anthem, he said. If you don't want to meet a flashlight, use the west stair and keep your heads down. You sent the message, I said. I left a door open, he said. You two remembered how to use one. We took the west stair because elevators gossip. On the concourse, the crowd rehearsed Euphoria at volume. Outside, Knight was practicing Chrome. We walked the long way home so we wouldn't have to explain our faces to anyone who thought sports cured anything. In the kitchen, the soup forgave me for the delay. We ate standing like mammals who know where the salt lives. He told me Damon had been sculpting a compliment into a proposition for weeks, and he had helped because selection feels like love when usefulness has emptied your pockets. I told him Leif had texted because some men choose air over alibis. He didn't ask whether Leif and I had ever been a worse idea. I didn't describe the way sodium lights make Leif's mouth look like a better answer than we deserve. Later in bed, we left a sliver of cool like a reservation and then let it surrender because the city had already spent enough of our restraint. He kissed me with the steadiness I have learned is his best argument against the rooms that think they own him. I put my mouth where his jaw loses confidence and told it a morning. It was heat without theater. The building minded its radiators. The stadium did its roaring somewhere we couldn't spend it. He fell asleep with his hand on my wrist, not as proof, not as claim, just counting the animal we've decided to keep. Morning behaved like it had been coached. Coffee found cups. The calendar square for tonight stayed blank, which in this town is the kink we can afford. He tied a tie over a throat I intend to retire with patience, kissed me like a man who already knew the exit, and left for a meeting that promised to be civilized. I believed him because his mouth had remembered where it lives. At 9:12, a text arrived from a number saved under one letter. No catwalk cam saw anything but truss. I looped a maintenance clip for 20. Consider it safety culture. L.I. sent, you're very proud of your safety culture. He replied, I'm proud of your exit. No punctuation correct. By noon, a sports blog posted a photo of Damon in the sponsor suite with a caption about stewardship and grit. I scrolled past. It wasn't our room. At 1:37, Nate sent a picture of our kitchen table with the plant we keep refusing to let die basking in a rectangular honesty of sun. Room exists, he wrote. The week pretended to behave. Damon emailed a revised pledge with fewer adjectives and more commas. Nate forwarded it to legal like a man who had learned that commas are the only thing a city respects. We cooked badly and forgave each other with dishes. The plant grew a new leaf as if optimism could be photosynthesized. 2 nights later, the team hosted a charity practice where children threw spirals at professionals who remembered how to be gentle. We went together, because sometimes the grammar requires plural. Leif nodded once from the tunnel like an usher who has enlisted. Damon shook Nate's hand in a frame that loved him, and then tried mine on for size. I fit and declined to be altered. A reporter asked Nate what the catwalk looks like from up there. Like the sentence you don't say out loud, he said, and the reporter printed it as if she'd earned the truth. On the way home, we took the river path. The stadium replayed itself on the water's skin. Nate slipped 2 fingers into the back pocket of my jeans in the way that says not mine but here, and I wanted to laugh because who knew a catwalk could make a map? Then the story did what stories do on the internet. A burner account posted a grainy still of 2 figures near the North Truss with a caption about front office entanglement. The comments sorted us into villains and customers. I put the phone down next to the plant and watched the plant win. Nate texted a different picture. The catwalk in bright morning with 2 riggers swapping a ballast. The city spread behind them like an unconvincing alibi. Our version works for a living, he wrote. On Sunday, Leif sent fields open. Want to sit where nobody sells you a seat? We went. He unlocked a ground-level gate and let us into a bowl that forgave us for being small. He showed us how the yard lines lie to cameras and where the breeze sneaks in no matter what the architects promised. He did not flirt with anything, not even the truth. He stood with his hands in his pockets and told us a joke about rich men who think turf is a metaphor. I liked him better for not needing to be the point. The next week, the team staged a press conference. Nate stood beside the head coach like a man who understands that light isn't decoration. He thanked the riggers by name and the donors by title, which is the correct order if you want the building to like you. Damon promised to invest in places fans can feel proud to be seen, a sentence that managed to spend nothing and still receive applause. After, he shook Nate's hand and then looked at me with a careful respect that felt like an admission he would invoice later. "You're both very good at exits," he said. "Practice," I said. He laughed the way men laugh when they cannot put your billable hours on a calendar. It didn't stay tidy. Nothing does here. A week later, a columnist with a talent for adjectives implied that Nate's rapid ascent came courtesy of private tour. The piece included a photo of the catwalk that could have been any catwalk and a paragraph that could have been any rumor. The comments rehearsed their choreography. I kept my mouth and my kitchen and my plant. That night, the stadium hosted a high school championship. We sat in the cheap seats with paper cups of cocoa and listened to the small roar that means the future is practicing. A father told his son that the catwalk is for angels and idiots. Nate squeezed my wrist and did not argue. We left by the service road because lobbies have ears. Leif texted a single word, weather, and we met him under a sky that had decided to mean it. He told us which bolts complain first in a storm and why you never trust a ladder that apologizes. He said nothing kind and everything useful. On a quiet Thursday, I came home to find Nate barefoot at the stove stirring a pot as if patience could be summoned by wooden spoon. He had printed Damon's latest pledge and left it unopened beside the plant. "If I don't read it," he said, "tonight is ours." I set my hand on the paper and then on his neck and then took the paper away because grammar matters. We ate. We did the dishes. We stood at the bedroom door without pretending we were about to perform. He kissed me with the steadiness that convinced me early on that some men actually remember how to keep their mouths honest. I put my mouth on his jaw where confidence goes quiet and told it a morning. It was heat without witnesses. Somewhere 2 floors away, a neighbor argued with a blender. We minded nothing but each other. It keeps not being simple. Damon keeps sending commas that want homes. The plant keeps inventing leaves. The city keeps practicing praise it didn't earn. Leif keeps opening the right door and refusing credit. We keep our calendar squares blank on purpose because blanks are the only currency rooms respect. Sometimes, on the walk back from the river, Nate takes my wrist lightly and says nothing, which is how I know he's remembering the catwalk and the 2 minutes that were enough. Sometimes I think about Damon sitting in the dark like a man who wants to buy a view and discovering he cannot afford a pulse. Sometimes I think about Leif's line, "I left a door open," and how it's the only biography I want for this version of us. Tonight's square is empty. We're leaving it that way. The stadium can keep its lights. We have the West Stare, a plant we refuse to let die, and the quiet grammar of a decision that knows the difference between being watched and being seen. If we get caught again, I hope it's by each other. The rest of the city can rehearse applause. We'll be in the room that doesn't need it.